The first SCP that we will take an interest in reading about is the documentation of SCP-002, Object Class Euclid, Special Containment Procedures. SCP-002 is to remain connected to a suitable power supply at all times, to keep it in what appears to be a recharging mode. In case of electrical outage, the emergency barrier between the object and the facility is to be closed and the immediate area evacuated. Once facility power is re-established, alternating bursts of X-ray and ultraviolet light must strobe the area until SCP-002 is re-affixed to the power supply and returned to recharging mode. Containment area is to be kept at negative air pressure at all times. Teams including a minimum of 2 members are required within 20 meters of SCP-002 or its containment area. Personnel should maintain physical contact with one another at all times to confirm there is another person present, as perception may be dulled, skewed, or influenced by proximity to the object. No personnel below Level 3 are permitted within SCP-002. The requirement may be waived via written authorization from 2 off-site Level 4 administrators. Command staff issued such a waiver must be escorted by at least 5 Level 3 security personnel for the duration of their contact and must temporarily surrender their rank and security clearance. Following contact, command staff will be escorted at 5 kilometers from SCP-002 to undergo a 72-hour quarantine and psychological evaluation. If deemed fit to return to duty by psych staff, rank and security clearance may be restored when quarantine expires. Description: SCP-002 resembles a tumorous, fleshy growth with a volume of roughly 60 meters cubed or 2,000 feet cubed. An iron valve hatch on one side leads to its interior, which appears to be a standard low-rent apartment of modest size. One wall of the room possesses a single window, though no such opening is visible from the exterior. The room contains furniture which, upon close examination, appears to be sculpted bone, woven hair, and various other biological substances produced by the human body. All matter tested thus far show independent or fragmented DNA sequences for each object in the room. Refer to the Mulhausen report press reference document 0.023.603 for details related to the objects discovered. The rating is plus 2,174. Reference: to date, subject has been responsible for the disappearance of 7 personnel. It has also, in its time at the facility, further furnished itself with 2 lamps, a throw rug, a television, a radio, a beanbag chair, 3 books in unknown language, 4 children's toys, and a small potted plant. Tests with a variety of lab animals, including higher primates, have failed to provoke a response in SCP-002. Cadavers as well failed to produce any effect. Whatever process the subject uses to convert organic matter into furnishings is apparently only facilitated by the introduction of living humans. The Mulhausen report 00.023.603. The following is a brief report detailing the discovery of SCP-002. The subject was discovered in a small crater in northern Portugal where it struck the earth from orbit. Encased in a shell of thick rock, the fleshy exterior of the object was exposed by the impact. A native farmer happened upon the site and reported his findings to the village elder. The subject gained SCP attention when a Level 4 agent posted in the area detected a small radioactive anomaly generated by the object. A collection squad of SCP security personnel led by General Mulhausen was immediately dispatched to the area, where they quickly secured the subject in a large container and performed initial testing with subject recruited from the nearby village. 3 men individually sent into the structure subsequently disappeared. Upon discovering this deadly property of the subject, General Mulhausen issued Level 4A termination order of any witnesses, roughly 1/3 of the village, to ensure no outside knowledge of the object, and initiated its transport to SCP facility. Data expunged. During preparation for transport, 4 SCP security personnel were inexplicably drawn inside the object, where they too immediately disappeared. Following inspection, it appeared as if the object had grown several new furnishings and was beginning to look like the interior of an apartment room. General Mulhausen immediately ordered the requisition of several Class 3 hazmat suits for the remaining security team members, who proceeded to lift the container onto a waiting freight ship for transport to the SCP containment facility. Data expunged, data expunged. Following the termination of General Mulhausen, SCP-002 was resecured by SCP staff and brought into special containment in Classified, where it currently resides. Staff with clearance below Level 3 have been denied access to the SCP-002 container without prior approval of at least 2 Level 4 staff after the Mulhausen incident. And that is the end of the documentation on SCP-002. On to SCP-003. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-003 is to be maintained at a constant temperature of no less than 35 degrees Celsius and ideally kept above 100 degrees Celsius. No living multicellular organisms of Category 4 or higher complexity may be allowed to come into contact with 003. In event of total power failure, if 003-1 begins to increase its mass, assigned personnel must engage in skin contact with 001-3. Ideally, personnel may use their body heat to return 003-1 to above the critical temperature. However, skin contact must be maintained even in event of 003 reaching activation temperature, lasting at minimum until 003-1 advances fully to its second growth stage. Personnel who enter 003's containment area must first be examined by body parasites of Category 4 or higher complexity and sterilized if such organisms are present. All personnel who have come in physical contact with SCP-003-1 are to immediately report for sterilization afterward. 003-1 must not be removed from 003-2 except in case of emergency procedures detailed above. Any significant change in 003-2 rune activity, including pattern, frequency, or color, should be reported within 3 hours of occurrence. Cessation of rune activity must be reported immediately. 003-2 must be supplied with power via the source designated generator 003-IX at all times. Time for descriptors. SCP-003 consists of 2 related components of separate origin, referred to as SCP-003-1 and SCP-003-2. 3-1 appears to be composed of chitin, hair, and nails of unknown biology, arranged in a configuration similar to that of a computer motherboard. Testing reveals that 3-1 predate earliest known circuit boards by a factor of thousands of years. 3-1 is considered sentient but not actively dangerous except under certain conditions. 3-1 was found on a stone tablet 3-2 on which it currently resides. The runes on SCP-3-2 are not part of any known language and emit pale, flickering light patterns. 3-2 is controlled by a non-biological internal computer, the contents of which are mostly inaccessible without risk of damaging 3-2. 3-2 is capable of controlled emissions of radiation, including heat, light, and anomalous radiation types. 3-2 contains an internal power source of anomalous nature, which appears to have been losing powers since several centuries before discovery. It is considered probable that 3-2 was created for the purpose of containing 3-1. Partially interpreted data recovered from 3-2 may refer to a past and/or potential future LK-class restructuring event caused by 3-1. It is considered probable that 3-2 was created for the purpose of containing 3-1. Partially interpreted data recovered from 3-2 may refer to a past or present potential future LK-class restructuring event caused by 3-1. 003 was located by Remote Viewing Team SRV-04 Beta. By Viewing Team SRV-04 Beta, it appears possible that SRV-4 Beta was deliberately contacted by 003-2. Other organizations have also been alerted to 003's existence, possibly by similar means. Despite this activity, 003-2 does not appear to be sentient, based on its lack of reaction to M03 Gloria analysis and procedures. When SCP-003 drops below the temperature of 35 degrees Celsius, both components react. First, 3-1 enters a growth state characterized by an exponential increase in mass. This growth state consists of 2 stages. In both stages, 3-1 partially fuels its growth by converting matter around it, starting with any surrounding inorganic material, including atmospheric elements, then non-living organic material, including cells of dead skin, hair, chitin, enamel, keratin, and other biological materials. The first stage is always the same. 3-1 will first increase its mass, then take a form similar in shape to an spheroid brittle star of 15 meters in diameter, including what appears to be a central processor of 3 meters in diameter. It will form sensory organs that appear to scan its surrounding environment, and will partially convert the area around it into an unidentified anomalous substance. SCP-3-2 seems immune from conversion. The second stage describes a growth alteration which occurs when 003 comes into contact with living organic material. 003 appears to template itself off the organic material and will attempt communication with organisms that match its initial template or templates. In its second stage, 3-1 may pause, slow, or change its growth, and will also convert inorganic and non-living organic elements into functionally similar structures while anomalously altering their physical makeup. While growth is consistent in the first stage, in the second stage, 3-1's growth rate is diminished by 20 to 90% so long as 3-1 remains in contact with living organic material. The percentage is determined by the complexity of the organism or organisms in contact with 3-1. 3-1 appears to devote a large amount of processing power to analysis of living organic material. During each of 003-1's growth stages, 3-2 releases bursts of radiation that temporarily inhibit 3-1's growth, or reverse this growth when the temperature of 3-1 rises above 100 degrees Celsius. Similar radiation emissions have been replicated or recorded via other anomalous means. 3-1's biology has been the subject of extensive study. Significant elements have been identified similar to SCP-1512 and SCP-2756, the latter two of which have no further confirmed connection with 3-1 and no known connection with each other, and none of which are fully understood, technically even less understood than 003, thanks to the extensive cross-disciplinary research on the 003 object. To date, no convincing analysis has been put forward which satisfactorily explains 3-1's connection to these SCP objects or others, nor its connection to modern technology beyond appearance and potential mimicry via unknown mechanism. Addendum 003-01, acting on information gathered from linguistic analysis of 003-2's runes and comparative data analysis, research team M03 Gloria has managed to establish a link between 003 and RNR for analysis of function. 3-1 must now be considered sentient and is to be kept a minimum of 1 kilometer from and the resulting byproduct at all times. Addendum 003-02. 3-2's power loss has been exacerbated by the procedures performed by M03 Gloria. On orders of 0510, M03 Gloria will continue procedures. Addendum 003-03. During M03 Gloria procedures, 3-1 doubled its mass and began rapid structural growth. Temperature was immediately returned to 100 degrees Celsius. Growth and mass increase of 3-1 continued for 9 minutes and 6 seconds, at which time a sustained radiation spike was produced by 3-2. In response, 3-1 returned to its normal state in 3 minutes and 39 seconds. New growth dissolved into a dusty residue which was collected for analysis. Both 3-1 and 3-2 ceased all detectable activity. 3-2 did not resume activity until connected to external power source. 3-2's runes glowed uniformly gray and did not resume normal activity for 3 hours. 3-2 no longer appears to be able to maintain containment area at a temperature above 35 degrees Celsius without external power supplied by generators 003-III through IX. Addendum 003-04. The procedure detailed in Addendum 3-3 was repeated, and 3-1 again entered a growth state. After 10 minutes and 13 seconds, 3-2 once again produced a sustained radiation spike. 3-1's growth stopped for 36 seconds, then resumed at its previous pace. On quadrupling its mass, 3-1 formed a coherent outer shell and body. After appearing to scan its environment and partially converting its environment, 3-1 then breached containment, entering the observation gallery where 9 members of M03 Gloria were present. On physical contact with team members, 3-1 encompassed them in rapidly grown appendages and stopped growth for 15 minutes. 3-1 then resumed growth and rearranged the component parts of the center of its form, the shape of a 3-meter tall female humanoid, with peripheral tentacles shifting to extrude primarily from 3-1's newly formed hair and spine. 3-1 then produced rudimentary vocalizations in an apparent initial attempt to communicate with researchers. An unknown individual approached the compromised containment area in company of a full squad of agents. The individual claimed to be acting on orders of 0510 and attempted communication with 3-1. Following this incident, Agent Jackson of M03 Gloria successfully restored power to 3-2 and activated backup generators to return the temperature to 100 degrees Celsius. 3-1 returned to its normal state in 21 minutes and 7 seconds and was successfully recontained without incident. All 9 members of M03 Gloria, affected by 3-1, were afterwards found to be physically unharmed with no residual effects besides psychological trauma. The converted materials of 003's former containment area did not dissolve and are now under analysis. Addendum 003-05. In light of previous incident, 0510 was removed from the 05 Council by joint decision of 05 and 05 M03 Gloria procedures have been indefinitely suspended. Special Access Program M03 Gloria required. Access granted. Display files. Interviewers and transcript of incident report A21-B Cycle 8 for dissemination to 05 Command and Staff. Present 05-2, 05-5, and 05-7, 0510 and Staff. Interviewed Dr. Tilda David Moose, M03 Gloria Lead. Excerpt 5A. She tried to talk to us. We all heard her voice in our heads, in a sort of half language we couldn't fully understand. Some of the others passed out immediately. I lasted a little longer, but it wasn't because of mental fortitude. It's just that she was trying to tell us different things. She showed Jones a replay of all the memories of everything Jones ever felt anything about, all over the course of a few minutes. She ripped 3 of the researchers apart and put them back together unharmed. She doesn't understand human emotion or pain, or very much about how we experience the world. Yes, I would say the containment procedures are necessary. Listen, she wants to remake the world into a paradise filtered through her own alien understanding of paradise, but still a paradise designed for us, for humanity. She would be unhappy to make a paradise for any sufficiently complex organism she comes across first. Anything with a complex enough mind to accept her, say a dog or a housefly. If she breaches again, we have to be there first. What would it be like? I don't know. She showed us images. Not quite images. I can see them in my head, but they're not quite pictures. Closest thing I can think of is what you see when you close your eyes suddenly and tightly, but brighter and more complex. The images had metallic sounds associated with them, and sensory details that we don't have the words or concepts to describe. The whole effect felt like words of some kind. I believe she wanted to see what we could understand so she could understand us. She didn't have time to finish analyzing us. I don't know what would have happened if she had. Oh. Item number SCP-004. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. When handling items SCP-004-2 through SCP-004-13, proper procedure is vital. The items are not permitted to be moved off-site unless accompanied by 2 Level 4 security personnel. Under no circumstances should any other component of SCP-004 be taken through 4-1. The effects of doing so are as yet unknown, and the current cost of experimentation makes further research impractical. Should any of the objects contained within 4-1 breach containment, or the facility be breached, the keys must be brought inside and the doors closed prior to activation of Site-62's on-site warhead. Unauthorized removal of keys from the testing area is grounds for immediate termination. Level 1 clearance is required for basic access to 4-1. Level 4 clearance is required for use of 4-2 to 4-13. Description: SCP-004 consists of an old wooden barn door, SCP-004-1, and a set of 12 rusted steel keys, 4-2 through 4-13. The door itself is the entrance to an abandoned factory in a group of 3 juveniles trespassing on federal property near find the door. According to their testimony, they found a set of rusted keys in an iron lockbox and determined what door the keys unlock. The juveniles are taken into custody after they contact Sheriff when one of their friends, SCP-004-CAS-01, goes missing. 7/3/1949. Local authorities find the severed right hand of 4-CAS SCP-001 8 kilometers from 4-1. Other parts of CAS-1's body are found scattered as far as 32 kilometers from the factory. Under interrogation, the apprehended juveniles tell authorities that upon opening the door with one of the keys, CAS-1 was torn into several pieces, each of which disappeared. At this point, the SCP Foundation takes over the investigation. 7/4/1949. SCP Agent obtains the keys from the local authorities to begin testing. SCP Agent obtains the keys from the local authorities to begin testing. Tests show that 4-2 through 4-13 all fit into a single lock on the large barred door. 12 Class D personnel are assigned to test the effects of the door. One of the 12 test subjects, each trying a different key to enter the room. Only 2 survive. Opening the door with any key except 4-7 or 4-12 caused the test subjects to be torn apart in multiple directions. However, no dismembered parts were found until later. At the time of writing, only 2 parts of each subject have been recovered, with the exception of the subject using SCP-004-, those whose pieces were scattered in close proximity. The others have, for all intents and purposes, vanished from existence. Of the 2 surviving subjects, only one, having used 4-7, returned unharmed. The other came back in a near catatonic state, able only to remove himself from the room and then collapse on the floor, and had to be restrained to prevent him from gouging out his eyes. See Appendix A, Mental Health Effects of SCP-004. The subject using 4-7 said that he had entered a large room, impossibly big for the size of the attached building. After his exit, 4-1 was propped open and an armed squad of Level 3 personnel entered. The size of the room is impossible to measure, and the door frame and the individuals in the room are the only part of the room that can be felt or illuminated. 7/16/1949. The juvenile suspects and sheriff are terminated. 8/2/1949 is declared a hazardous area due to unexploded ordnance and fences erected in order to prevent civilian ingress. Tests to determine safety of exposure to an environment behind 004-1 begin. 12/1/1950. Space-time anomalies resulting from exposure to 004 are confirmed. Testing is suspended until further notice. 7/2/19. The unaccounted for remains of 004 CAS-1 appear unexpectedly outside 4-1. Despite being killed decades before, the remains of 004 CAS-1 are not decomposed in any manner and are still warm to the touch. Blood remains uncoagulated. The remains are remanded for testing. 7/4/19. The unaccounted for remains of one of the 12 original test subjects appears in similar manner to those of 004 CAS-1. The remains have been designated 04 CAS-2. Records suggest that both CAS-1 and CAS-2 used 004-321/1999. With massive proliferation of nuclear weapons and World War III only years away, construction has begun on a site inside 4-1. The site is to stock supplies for person days. 4/21/1999 has ordered the site inside 4-1 to be expanded to include emergency storage for all mobile SCP specimens and a petabyte database for the storage of all SCP data. The facility is now referred to as Site 62. 9/25/2000. Site 62 is operational. Labs and containment units are complete and can contain the most dangerous specimens. Backup of SCP database has begun. 1/25/2001. Due to time anomalies, see space-time anomalies below, all personnel working at Site 62 are now required to reside on-site permanently. Families of personnel are to be informed that loved ones perished in an industrial accident. Clone bodies have been prepared for funeral. 8/14/2003. Massive power outage across northeast United States and through Canada. Due to the initial failure of multiple SCP generators, Site 62 was without power for 53 minutes. During those 53 minutes, those on site were completely without any source of light. They reported sensing creatures and people, although no abnormal entities could be seen or felt. Selected facility personnel were allowed to read Appendix A and said the creatures sensed were of humanoid size but otherwise similar to the massive green creature described. Space-time anomalies. SCP-004 seems to propagate spatiotemporal anomalies. Personnel leaving the facility report losing time Those who have been in the site for weeks insist that they had only been in the facility for several days, and records of work completed and supplies consumed support their claims. Other temporal anomalies involve SCP-004-2 through 13, especially the reappearance of CAS-1 and CAS-2 exactly years after using SCP-004 has been assigned to investigate all aspects of these time anomalies. Spatial anomalies include the impossibly large dimensions of the area opened by 4-7. Similarly, the 2003 blackout incident suggests that there exists an alternate plane of existence within the same space that Site-62 occupies. Additional notes. Testing on SCP-004 reveals that 10 of the keys open SCP-004-1 on a dimension where the laws of physics and topology are significantly different than those of our home dimension. Test subjects beneath these hostile conditions are torn apart, their body parts deposited in various locations, only 3 of which have been verified to be on Earth. Material deposited at 2 of these points appears immediately. Material deposited at the 3rd appears exactly years into the future. The other 7 locations are currently unknown. Current testing focuses on 2 avenues of research. The first is finding ways to survive 004's hostile topologies. The second suggests that 004-2 through 13 may open doors other than 4-1. Appendix A. Mental health effects of SCP-004-12. All Class D personnel using SCP-004-12 return in catatonic state, unable to speak. Some may have enough energy left to try to claw out their eyes. Of the 16 subjects, only 4 have survived. Only 1 has regained speech following long-term psychotherapy. He was able to tell the psychiatrist that he saw a massive green creature so large that much of its body extended beyond his field of view. He reported innate fear and sudden recognition, as if it were something buried deep in his primal fears. Enforced implantation of incomprehensible memories. Subject displays acute anterograde and retrograde amnesia. Appendix B. Additional information. Item number SCP-004-14. Data discovery 09/02/1950. Origin of object. Object was discovered elsewhere in factory area, in the previously undiscovered manager's office. Description. Object appears as a large, unvarnished wooden box. The box may be unlocked by the safe key SCP-004-7, as well as 5 of the unsafe keys. See document SCP-004-1. Upon unlocking 4-14 with 4-7, the box opens automatically on hinges. The volume of the space inside is precisely 5 times greater than the outer dimensions imply. Items placed within while the lid remains open do not affect the weight or any other properties of the box. When the lid is closed and locked, however, all items inside vanish irretrievably. Personnel locked inside the box are also irretrievable, although losing personnel in this fashion appears to affect significantly the dreams experienced by Item number SCP-005. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-005 poses no immediate risk in any direct sense. Even so, its unique function requires special measures to be taken to restrict access and manipulation of the object. Approval of at least 1 Level 4 personnel is required for the removal of the object from its containment area. Description. In appearance, 005 resembles an ornate key displaying the characteristics of a typical mass-produced key used in the 1920s. The key was discovered when a civilian used it to infiltrate a high-security facility. 005 seems to have the unique ability to open any and all forms of lock. See Appendix A. Be they mechanical or digital, with relative ease. The origin of this ability has yet to be determined. Additional notes. 005 may be used as a replacement for lost security passes, but only under the supervision of at least 1 Level 4 personnel. 005 may not be used for vending machine repairs, opening lockers, or for any personnel's spare home key. Removal of the object from the compound will result in immediate termination. Appendix A. While SCP-005 has been shown to be effective in removing almost any form of locking device, further experiments have shown that efforts to disguise the purpose or identity of a lock have proven at least somewhat successful in defeating 005's ability. In approximately 50% of the cases where a volunteer was not able to identify a locking device as such, 005 was not successful in deactivating the device. Due to these results, SCP-005 has been tentatively classified as sentient, and further tests are being run to determine its cognitive abilities. However, there are no results that show any trait that prevent it from being able to identify any particular locking device, only that the aforementioned device has been heavily concealed and disguised. Item number SCP-006. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. Whereas the nature of 006 does not warrant any extensive containment, a certain level of secrecy is necessary regarding the object's existence and properties for obvious reasons. The following procedures are required not only for personnel safety, but to deny or hide knowledge of 006's effects from the personnel who interact with it. 1. All personnel interacting with 006 in any physical way are required to wear modified Class 6 BNC suits. Before personnel are allowed to perform procedures, they must be briefed with material 006B or 006C. 006A briefing is the correct one and is restricted to only those with O5 clearance. To ensure personnel are wearing suits properly, they are to be submerged into a pool of water. Any air bubbles spotted signify a leak in the suit. 2. Procedures with 6 are to be carried out under extreme surveillance. In case of contact with 6, the commander in charge will announce Procedure 6-XI-12, which the personnel have been briefed to believe to mean high toxicity is present and they must evacuate. 3. Any procedure in which liquid is acquired from 6 must be approved by 3 O5 level personnel. The liquid is to be transferred in a quad sealant container and under armed guard. 4. If at any time personnel come into contact with 06 or liquid from 6, they are to be confined and terminated after sufficient studies are done. Due to the nature of 6, the most effective termination method is incineration. Full report, see file SCP-006-description. 006 is a very small spring located 60 kilometers west of Astrakhan. Foundation Command was aware of its existence since the 19th century, but were unable to secure it until 1991 due to political reasons. On the spot of the spring, a chemical factory has been constructed as a disguise, with the majority of laborers under Foundation and/or Russian control. The liquid emitted from the spring has been chemically identified as simple mineral water in 1902, but has the unusual property of health. Ingesting the liquid produces the following properties in human beings: the ability to regenerate DNA damaged by sufficient duplication, heightened excitement of cellular duplication, vastly improved abilities in the repair of damaged tissue, and a frightening increase in the effectiveness of the human immune system. Upon testing the liquid on animal subjects, hostile bacteria and viral agents were destroyed immediately. Many reptiles and birds were unaffected, while higher primates experienced the same benefits as humans. Item number SCP-007. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. 007 is to be contained in a sealed room measuring 10 meters on each side. The room must be furnished comfortably as a living area, along with whatever items are requested by hereafter referred to as subject. Given that providing subject with requested items would not compromise security, subject is not to be allowed to leave the room and is detained with force if necessary. 007 is located within a cavity in the abdomen of subject. Subject is a Caucasian male, physically approximately 25 years of age. Subject claims to be 28 and 176 centimeters in height. Most of subject's abdomen, muscle, skin, and organs is absent, though subject does not appear to suffer because of this. Instead of normal flesh, a sphere composed of soil and water is present, though it does not actually come into contact with subject's body at any point. The sphere appears to be, in most respects, a miniature near duplicate of the Earth, approximately 60 centimeters in diameter, although continental alignment is not consistent with that of any alignment known in Earth's history. The sphere has its own weather patterns, negligible gravitational pull. In addition to microscopic organisms somewhat resembling those of modern-day Earth inhabiting it, 2 intelligent species have been observed, though contact and communication with either has yet to be made. Technology levels of observed species must be checked at least once a week and are approximately equal to that of 15th century Earth. Subject claims to be named, but no records of such a person can be found. Subject does not require food or water, and while he has been observed consuming both, what happens to such substances after being swallowed is unknown. Subject is intelligent, IQ has been measured at 128, and amiable, and regards the planet in his abdomen as a minor curiosity about his body. Subject seems to experience no stress about his unusual condition. When questioned about planet's origins, Subject replied, "I just woke up with it one day and there it was. I don't have any idea how it got there." Subject has provided a social security number and driver's license number and requested that they be checked against known records. When checked, it was discovered that neither had yet been allocated. Dr. has a weekly chess game with Subject, during which Subject's mental health is evaluated. Dr. reports that Subject does not seem to mind the restricted living environment and has yet to attempt to escape or show signs of violence or mental illness, though he has repeatedly requested a computer with an internet connection. It is recommended that this not be provided as it may be used to compromise security. Item number SCP-008. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-008 samples have been deemed Class V extreme biological hazards, and all related protocols apply. Incineration and irradiation measures will be deployed in the event of political or military action which may result in the facility being dismantled, power failure, or zero communications from operatives or outside channels during any given 8-hour period. The quarantine period for operatives leaving the facility is 4 months. If a breach has occurred, incineration and irradiation measures shall be deployed. It should be the policy of all G2 sites to not prepare an evacuation procedure. Ribbon diagram illustrating tertiary structure of SCP-008. Primary amino acid sequence information has been redacted. Description. 008 is a complex prion, samples of which are stored in each of the known G2 sites. Research into 008 is highly classified and primarily aimed at preventing research which may lead to the synthesis of 008 in the distant future. Traits of the 008 prion include 100% infectiousness, 100% lethality, transmission through exposed mucous membranes and all bodily fluids, not airborne or waterborne. Symptoms of infection with 008 manifest no more than 3 hours after exposure and include flu-like symptoms with high fever plus severe dementia in later stages, coma onset approximately 20 hours after first symptoms appear and 12 hours after noticeable dementia. Coma onset will be considered onset of death. A period of sporadic cellular necrosis occurs, which comes to resemble gangrene. Surviving tissue assumes its original function and is highly resilient. Red blood cells greatly increase oxygen storage capacity, resulting in a slower blood flow and increased muscle endurance and strength. Metabolism may decrease to extremely low levels, allowing subject to survive for over 10 years without nutrition. High blood viscosity results in negligible blood flow from gunshot, puncture, and slashing injuries. Conditioned behavior, motor controls, and instinctive behavioral mechanisms are damaged, and cognitive abilities are severely retarded and erratic. Animals experience excessive brain necrosis and are inactive. Subject can adapt to its damaged nervous systems, but is limited to basic physical activities, including standing up, balancing on 2 legs, walking, biting, grabbing, and crawling. Subject will energetically move towards sights, sounds, and smells it associates with living humans. Subject will attempt to ingest living humans if physical contact is made. Neutralizing fully infected subjects requires significant cranial trauma. There is strong evidence to suggest that 008 itself did not form naturally on Earth, since variants of similar complexity would have displaced much of the ecosystem. In 1959, a short collaborative effort with the USSR to locate G2 sites and eliminate 008 was negotiated following their discovery. The status of 008 in Russian custody since collaboration ended is unknown. Addendum 008-1. SCP-500 has been found to be able to completely cure 008 even in the advanced stages of disease. Item number SCP-009. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. Object is to be contained within a sealed storage tank of heat-resistant alloy with dimensions not less than 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters. The picture is SCP-009 prior to recovery. Under no circumstances should SCP-009 be exposed to temperatures in excess of 0 degrees Celsius when not undergoing testing, and no water-based solutions shall be allowed within 30 meters of the object's containment area. Object's chamber is to be fitted with temperature sensors which must be monitored at all times, and is to be kept refrigerated by no fewer than 3 redundant cooling units. Any malfunction of sensors or of coolant systems is to be reported and repaired immediately. If at any time the temperature in the containment area climbs above -5 degrees Celsius, the chamber is to be locked down and flooded with coolant until the temperatures return to safe levels, -30 degrees Celsius to -25 degrees Celsius. Containment area is to be kept in total vacuum during testing, and personnel interacting with SCP-009 must wear full environmental protection gear. Following testing, all equipment, personnel, and other materials must undergo dehydration procedures and be quarantined for no less than 12 hours. Any moisture found displaying properties of 009 is to be quarantined and added to the containment area as soon as possible. Living organisms found to be contaminated by 009 are to be terminated by chemical desiccation and extracted molecules of 009 added to containment. Description: 009 is approximately liters of a substance which superficially resembles distilled water, H2O, except with a distinct bright red hue. This red hue is discernible in all phases, and serves as the most expedient method of identifying contaminated matter before its anomalous properties manifest. In contrast to mundane water, 009 assumes a liquid phase at temperatures between -100 degrees Celsius and 0 degrees Celsius, and a solid state above those temperatures. Examinations of the atomic structure of 009 proved inconclusive. The substance appears to be identical to normal water molecules, with the exception of in contrast to standard laws of enthalpy. Dr. On-site resident expert on xenospatial physics suggests that 009 may originate in a universe with alternate physical laws. The most hazardous property of 009, however, is its ability to contaminate normal H2O. When in contact with any aqueous solution, 009 will, through unknown mechanisms, transfer its anomalous properties to other objects and creatures. Testing has shown it capable of assimilating ice, steam, tea, fruit juice, seawater, blood, and the time it takes for this process to occur varies depending on temperature and the exact chemical composition of affected matter, and had been observed as taking between 3 minutes and hours. Experiments on D-class personnel have illustrated the process of conversion by the substance, which has been found to follow a consistent pattern to the water. These patterns result in the following. 1. Initial exposure. Subject is exposed to 009 and it begins assimilating any moisture present on the exposed surface. Creatures in this stage do not commonly notice any unusual symptoms except for a slight warming sensation. 2. Surface conversion. Frost begins to form on the exposed areas as the heat produced by the subject and 009 itself raises its temperature above 0 degrees Celsius. This stage can take anywhere from 1 minute to hours, during which time subjects begin to feel crystals on the epidermis. 3. Deep tissue conversion. Exponential increase in temperature of 009 causes runaway reaction throughout subject's body, resulting in actual blood loss is minimal due to ice crystals, allowing subjects to remain alive and conscious up to hours. Testing on D-class personnel was discontinued as of 4/23/20. Addendum: circumstances of retrieval. Subject was found in Alaska on 05-19. The Foundation became involved after reports were obtained from the native tribe who came across the mangled bodies of a team of seal hunters which had apparently been shipwrecked kilometers from the village. All victims were found encased in red ice. Cause of death recorded as internal bleeding, though closer inspection found. It is summarized that the low ambient temperatures in the area retarded the freezing process. This prolonged the time total conversion by hours, and the victims to remain conscious until origin of SCP-009 is currently unknown. Investigation into similar events or materials in the area is ongoing. Evidence at the scene suggests possibly involving SCP. See Exploration Log A009-1 for details. Addendum 1109-19. After initial report and retrieval specimens, it was confirmed that the arachnoid entity found by MTF-B7, see attached file, was indeed a previously unknown instance of SCP-3023. Investigation has revealed the instance originated in as a result of Addendum 1206-19. After repeated inquiries, it should be noted that the portion of the coastline upon which the initial victims were found was barren rock approximately meters from the seashore, and was sufficiently dry and cold to prevent significant contamination of the surrounding area. Had the site been closer to the water, there is little doubt an extinction level event would have ensued. Consideration of upgrading 009 to Keter class under review. Addendum 1216-20. Supercooling of 009 for the purposes of experimentation is disallowed until further notice. Personnel are advised that liquid nitrogen is only to be used on the subject in controlled amounts, and only until temperatures have reached acceptable levels. Related note: possible application of 009 in cold fusion research pending evaluation. Memo from O5 Command 109-20. We've decided to keep this thing Euclid for now. We understand the concerns raised, but as long as you keep the power on and nobody goes near its contaminant area, there shouldn't be a problem. That's why we're keeping it in sight after all. As for the cold fusion research, we're putting a pin in that for now. Frankly, we don't have it in the budget for another snafu like site. The salvage team still hasn't found doctors. Cross-testing report 9507F23. Following experiment record was recovered via a chance occurrence of SCP-507 shifting into a universe in which the described test was carried out using SCP-107. The application of the reported findings to our own universe is pending review. Input: 10 milliliters of 009. Result: red snow. Fell in test area for 27 minutes with moderate intensity. Grass growing in test area began runaway reaction which ended the entire area being frozen within minutes. A notably anti-ethanopathic reaction of 009 did not extend past the effective radius of SCP-107. For reasons still under investigation, non-grass plants in area turned bright red in color, greatly expanded, and mutated to display cyan-colored tentacles similar to those of species Drosera pinus. Mucilage produced by these tentacles later found to be tiny beads of 009. How the plant is able to survive with 009 integrated into its cell structure is currently under investigation, with preliminary hypothesis being that the plant is a reflection of flora from the substance's native universe. Item number SCP-010. Object class: safe. Special containment procedures. The objects comprising SCP-010 are to be kept in numbered locked boxes at Site-19. They are not to be worn except by test subjects. SCP-10 are only to be removed from storage for testing. Description: 10 consists of a series of 6 apparently identical cast iron collars with numbered tags and 1 remote control. The control is SCP-10-1. The collars are SCP-2-10-7. The collars contain intricate electronic components and are powered by small 5mm diameter, 2mm thick, 100-volt batteries. These batteries are rechargeable. The remote is a heavy black box resembling an old-style handheld radio transmitter receiver with a primitive blue-white cathode ray screen and a series of more than 100 unlabeled buttons, as well as a frequency tuner. Through trial and error, the frequencies of all 6 currently found callers have been discovered. A label in Russian is stamped into the metal along the logo consisting of workers building a pyramid. No official Russian corporation or government agency uses this logo or matches the words stamped into the metal. Placing the collar around the neck of a person and securing it allows one to control their every movement with the remote. It is also capable of producing an adrenal response and activating or deactivating the sympathetic nervous system. The most abnormal feature of the collar is the effect they have on the body morphology. They allow the user of the remote reconfigure the shape of the victim to an extent that is apparently only limited by the knowledge of the programming language of the remote. Addendum 10-1 History. SCP-10 was discovered in the basement of a lone man in the Midwestern United States after a local disappearance was connected to him. When the police raided the man's house, they found SCP-10 as well as several dead bodies. One of the bodies was identified to be the man. The others were several other missing persons. Cause of death seemed to be mass suicide, however, there were signs of a significant struggle at first. Addendum 10-2 Disassemble Experiment. Test 1 10-2 taken apart piecewise, the parts labeled and several photographs taken, then reassembled. Result: after reassembly, 10-2 continues to function. Test 3 unreplicable components from 10-2 placed into proper locations on 10-8. Result: 10-2 ceases functioning with removal of components. 10-8 begins functioning. Test 4 components returned to 10-2. Replicable components in 10-2 replaced randomly with replicas. Result: 10-2 begins functioning with return of components. Changing replicable components for replicas does not significantly reduce functionality. Replacement of a damaged transistor decreased time from transmission to effect of 10-2 response to commands entered in the remote by 12%. Addendum 10-3 SCP-10 has been demonstrated to work more effectively in creating unskilled labor than for any other task. The logo is apt. Dr. So we see. Item number SCP-011. Object class safe. Special containment procedures. Item 11 and the area surrounding it are to be cleaned once every day. For safety purposes, cleaning should start at least 30 minutes after sundown. Cleaning should always be performed by at least 2 personnel, who are also advised to note anything unusual about the item or the debris cleaned up. In a situation where the item cannot be cleaned for more than 2 days, local residents must be contacted and instructed to not approach the item. Contaminant Procedures Nullified 2004. Description: SCP-11 is a Civil War memorial statue located in Woodstock, Vermont. The statue is the image of a young male soldier holding a musket at his side and is carved out of the granite quarried within the area. Occasionally, SCP-11 has been observed lifting its musket to the sky to fire at birds which attempt to land or defecate on it. Reports detail that its movement produces soft grinding sounds but do not cause any structural failure. Oddly, the gunfire is very similar to that of a standard firearm, despite observations that the item only loads granite bullets and granite powder into the musket, which is also unharmed by the firing. In spite of its efforts, some fecal matter does manage to strike SCP-11, and it has reportedly become distressed when it has had a large amount of feces on it, on some rare occasions even firing at humans. Addendum: those assigned to maintain SCP-11 are to see document number 011-1 for instructions, document 011-1 maintenance brief, document archive 2004 accessible to personnel with security clearance 2-011 or higher. Additional information: SCP-11's seeming sentience has increased since the first report of activity in 1995. As of 2004, the item's containment procedures have been dropped, but it remains under constant observation. Recorded below are landmark events in its activity. 3/12/95, Woodstock residents report the statue's eyes moving, first signs of activity. 9:30, 10:95, statue shoots musket for the first time. 10:09:95, statue begins shooting birds from the sky. 1:25:96, registration as SCP-11, containment procedures begin. 4:14:97, SCP-11 observed moving casually and looking around. 5/3/2000, after caretaker jokingly shouts, "Good shot," to SCP-11, the item replies, "Thank you," in a reportedly very human voice. First speech from statue. 10/22/2001, SCP-11 has conversation with caretaker 2001, shooting of birds stops. 2602, at the imploring of SCP-11 steps down from its pedestal. 03-04, SCP-11 reaches a human level of self-awareness. 11:10:04, containment procedures dropped, custody of SCP-11 transferred to 5/17/05. Reports that SCP-11 is romantically attracted to her. 8/29/06, most recent psych test reports an IQ of 133. Item number SCP-012. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-012 is to be kept in a darkened room at all times. If the object is exposed to light or seen by personnel using light frequency other than infrared, remove personnel for mental health screening and immediate physical. Object is to be encased in an iron-sided box suspended from the ceiling with a minimum clearance of 2.5 meters, 8 feet, from the floor, walls, and any openings. Description: SCP-12 was retrieved by archaeologist K.M. Sandovo during the excavation of a northern Italian tomb destroyed in a recent storm. The object, a piece of handwritten musical score entitled On Mount Golgotha, part of a larger set of sheet music, appears to be incomplete. The red-black ink, first thought to be some form of berry or natural dye ink, was later found to be human blood from multiple subjects. The first personnel to locate the sheet, Site 19 Special Salvage, had 2 members descend into insanity, attempting to use their own blood to finish the composition, ultimately resulting in massive blood loss and internal trauma. Following initial investigations, multiple test subjects were allowed access to the score. In every case, the subjects mutilated themselves in order to use their own blood to finish the piece, resulting in subsequent symptoms of psychosis and massive trauma. Those subjects who managed to finish a section of the piece immediately committed suicide, declaring the piece to be impossible to complete. Attempts to perform the music have resulted in disagreeable cacophony, with each instrumental part having no correlation or harmony with the other instruments. SCP-013. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-13 are to be kept in secure storage vault at Site 66. Exposed subjects are to be monitored for differences between their symptoms. Exposed subjects are to be interviewed daily, and any changes in perception are to be logged. Description: 13 is the collective designation of 242 cigarettes, which display similar anomalies. The most common external detail between instances is the presence of the words "Blue Lady" handwritten on each cigarette in blue ink. Subjects who consume the contents of 13 through inhalation will begin to perceive themselves as a specific unidentified woman. Subjects have described the woman to be aged between 25 and 35 years old, standing approximately 1.6 meters tall, with an estimated weight of between 50 and 55 kilograms. Additional recurring details include copper dark hair, blue eyes, and bright blue lipstick. Immediately after consuming an instance of 13, subjects will gradually begin to perceive reflections of themselves as having the features of a woman, and will gradually perceive their bodies changing to reflect her appearance over the course of the following weeks. All changes are entirely mental. The subject's body does not change outwardly, only their perception of themselves. These alterations are permanent and cannot be reversed. 13 was discovered after the suicide of an Ian Miles, packed in a large cardboard crate in his apartment. A cursory search of the apartment uncovered several hundred sketches of a figure strongly resembling the one perceived while under 13's effects. Miles's body had been found sitting at a desk, dead of a massive overdose and draped over a handwritten note transcribed below. During the investigation of Miles's apartment, one civilian investigator became affected by 13's effect. An embedded agent soon contacted the nearest site, subject, the artifact, and related evidence were extracted and contained. Currently, 217 instances of 13 cigarettes are contained at Biosite 66. 25 13 cigarettes are contained at Research Sector 09, pending future research into similar anomalous effects. Addendum. Below is the note, which was acquired along with SCP-013. Seems like a wink wink interesting idea. It sure does. A very wink wink interesting idea. I see her everywhere. The sad blue lady. I feel like I I know her, but I can't remember. I love her, but I don't know why. She's so beautiful and sweet and clear, but I don't know anymore. Her favorite flavor. Where did you go? I miss you. Oh, I guess they would have been like British. SCP-014. Object class safe. Containment procedures. 14 is to be kept in sight in a chair with arms, preferably facing a window. Music should be supplied on a regular basis, preferably constantly. This music should not include pieces originating after 1937. A security camera should be present in 14's room. Description. 14 is a Caucasian male appearing to be approximately 30 years of age, with black hair, brown eyes, and a somewhat round face. Records indicate his name to be Robert Chetford, confined in 1915 to the Norwich Asylum in Connecticut for delusional insanity, claiming that he had been cursed to live forever, and was slowly turning into concrete in consequence. The asylum closed in 1937, and the patients were transferred to various facilities. 14 came to Foundation attention from rumors of a patient who seemed to be entirely immobile and showed no signs of aging. Further investigation determined that acquisition was warranted. 14 is to all outward appearances a normal man, but he does not appear to age, and shows no sign of possessing a metabolism. He does not eat, drink, perspire, or in any other way demonstrate life functions. He breathes only to speak, and apart from his eyes and vocal apparatus, is to all appearances utterly immobile. He has never shown any evidence of pressure ulcers despite his position not having varied for several decades. Neither do his muscles appear atrophied. He can converse normally, but shows little knowledge of or interest in events since his confinement. Addendum. Note. Frankly, were I to interview this man without knowing his history, I'd think he was a perfectly sane and well-adjusted individual who happens to be quadriplegic. As it is, I have to conclude that he's the ultimate proof of the idea that the mind rules the body. He thinks he's concrete and will live forever, and so he's as close to both as he can be, somehow. Dr. SCP-015. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-015 is impossible to move, and is constrained on site. A gap of at least 2 meters, 6 feet, needs to be maintained around the entire structure containing SCP-015 at all times, and no structures of any kind are to make contact with SCP-015's current containment structure. Exploration is permissible, but only in teams of 3 with full safety lines and GPS tracking. Any protrusions from 015 must be capped and sealed immediately, with the new site recorded and logged. No aggressive action is to be made with 0. No hand or power tools are allowed anywhere inside 15. No repairs or maintenance are to be made anywhere on 15. Let's look at the description. 015 is a mass of pipes, vents, boilers, and other various plumbing apparatus completely filling a warehouse in. The pipes appear to grow when not under observation, attempting to connect to nearby structures via sewer systems and underground plumbing. 015 contains, at current estimate, over 190 kilometers, 120 miles, of pipes, ranging in diameter from 2.5 centimeters to over 1 meter. Some pipes appear new, while others are rusted and leaking. Pipes have been reported as being made of bone, wood, steel, pressed ash, human flesh, glass, and granite. No pipes composed of lead, PVC, plastic, copper, or any other traditional material for the production of pipes have been found. SCP-015 reacts to tools and aggression. Any personnel acting violently, carrying tools, or attempting to damage or repair 15 in any way will trigger a reaction. Any pipes near the subject will burst, spraying the subject for several seconds before the flow suddenly stops. Pipes have been reported containing oil, mercury, rats, a species of insect not yet identified, ground glass, seawater, entrails, and molten iron. Pipes will continue to burst around the subject until death or retreat. 15 was cut back to its current structure after attaching to 11 other structures in the area. Currently, 11 personnel have been killed, and 20 more are still missing. Reports have been made of banging and screaming coming from within 15. Even if I'm gonna hurt later. SCP-016. Object Class Keter. 16 is to remain within the confines of a 5 by 5 by 5 meter room at all times, maintained at a temperature not to exceed 0 degrees Celsius. 16 itself is to remain in the petri dish in the containment cube at all times unless directed otherwise by level 4 or 05 personnel. Full documentation of experimentation with 16 must be submitted before and after samples, and duplicates of 16 may be taken. Failure to follow these procedures will result in termination and resignation of Class D personnel. Only authorized personnel may be permitted to obtain samples of and experiment with 16 under BCL5 containment conditions. If an outbreak does occur, despite following the aforementioned procedures, directive-based personnel are to implement a Code Sigma lockdown and containment plan. Infected personnel are to be terminated on-site by security forces wearing standard mission-oriented protective posture, anti-biological, and anti-chemical equipment. Should the infection not be contained after 48 hours, the on-site nuclear device is to be detonated. The remaining personnel are not to be evacuated under any circumstances. 16 has been shown to survive up to 6 hours on hard surfaces and up to several minutes in air. High-intensity ultraviolet light and high concentrations of orthoformaldehyde solution have been demonstrated to be effective in disinfecting non-organic surfaces. A description of SCP-016 is a blood-borne pathogen recovered from a mine worker who injured himself while working in a deep coal seam. Said wound became contaminated with coal dust from the mine, possibly infecting the worker with dormant spores. Over the next several days, 16 proceeded to infect the remaining employees at the mining camp, as well as the CDC crisis team dispatched to deal with the epidemic. Foundation personnel then took over the investigation and terminated all affected personnel. Patient 0 was brought into captivity, and the mine shaft was collapsed by an explosive device. 16 has an incubation period ranging from 24 hours to 2 years, depending on the presence and number of other human hosts in the area. First symptoms resemble the common cold and include itchy eyes, runny nose, coughing, and bodily aches. Phase 2 begins in 48 hours and consists of a controlled form of hemorrhagic fever, as the organism causes a small amount of blood to become aspirated in the lungs, creating an aerosol effect. During Phase 3, the host crashes and bleeds out, bleeding profusely from every bodily orifice, including the nose, tear ducts, anus, skin pores, mouth, urethra, and in case of females, vagina. Blood pressure skyrockets during the final stage. Hosts have been observed projectile vomiting blood to distances of over 5 meters. Should the host survive this near total exsanguination, the pathogen will become dormant once more, returning to incubation phase. What distinguishes 16 from other strains of hemorrhagic fever such as Ebola and Marburg is its unusual response to high stress. Should the subject undergo a high-stress situation, such as a life-threatening crisis, the organism will change its survival tactic from rapid reproduction to the rewriting of the host's DNA and stimulation of rapid cell division. Major physiological changes occur within the first 24 hours, with complete bodily reconstruction occurring within 2 weeks' time. Most hosts do not survive the process due to the heavy demand made on the body. An interesting side effect of the transformation is an increased aggressive urge. It is believed that this may be an attempt to maximize the spread of the virus in a manner similar to rabies. On another note, subjects who undergo bodily transformation no longer appear to exhibit 16's hemorrhagic property. However, subjects infected by transformed host will still undergo the normal 16 infection process. Addendum. Experiment log of SCP-016's transformative properties. Subject D16-1. D-class personnel infected by 16. Upon first showing symptoms, subjects' quarters were slowly flooded with water for over a 24-hour period. 16 mutated into terramorphic state, transforming the subject's lungs into gills. Subject survived for 2 more weeks as 16 transformed its limbs into fins, caused its eyes to atrophy, and enhanced its sense of hearing into an cetacean-type echolocation ability. Subject was terminated by draining all water from its quarters, causing it to asphyxiate. Body was subsequently cremated and without autopsy. Subject D16-2. D-class personnel infected by 16. Upon first showing symptoms, subject's quarters were slowly flooded with water over a 24-hour period. 16 mutated into terramorphic state, causing subject to undergo rapid muscular growth and increased bone growth on knuckles. Subject then attempted to escape from confinement by punching through the reinforced steel door. Subject was not successful and died by drowning. Note, same situation, 2 different responses. Interesting. Dr. Subject 16- infected by 16 subject was previously a chemical engineer who poisoned his wife upon discovering her adultery. Upon first showing symptoms, subject quarters were slowly flooded with water over 24 hours. 16 mutated into terramorphic state, causing subject to grow an unusual organ on its chest, consisting of a chamber and 2 separate tubes. Organ continued to take in water and swell in size until Foundation personnel, realizing what SCP-16 may be attempting, terminated the subject by gunshot. Organ was found to contain several gas sacs filled with acetylene gas and oxygen. Subject D16-4. Infected by 16, subject was told to concentrate on forming wings. No stress was applied. 16 did not mutate. Terramorphic state. Subject died of exsanguination during Phase 3. Subject D16-5. Infected. Subject was told to concentrate on forming wings and placed in an acrylic box suspended 305 meters, 100 feet, above a mine shaft. A timer was placed outside the box, which subject was told indicated the time of release. 16 mutated into terramorphic state, causing subject to grow a tentacle-like organ on his left wrist similar to a spider's spinnerets. Subject extended said organ through one of the box's air holes and extruded a strong silk-like substance, which it then used to secure the box to the cable. Subject was terminated when the countdown reached 0 and the bomb detonated. Oh. SCP-017. Object Class Gita. Special Containment Procedures. The 17 is contained in an acrylic glass cage, 100 centimeters by 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters, suspended in a concrete room measuring 6 meters by 6 meters by 4 meters. Attached to the walls, ceiling, and floor of the room are high-intensity arc lamps lamp spotlights pointed directly at the acrylic cage to ensure that SCP-17 is constantly exposed to light from every angle. Personnel assigned to 17 control room are to monitor the functionality of the spotlights and the emergency generator system and call for maintenance immediately upon knowledge of a burnt-out lamp or an issue with the generator. The only circumstance under which personnel are allowed entrance is to replace lamps. Personnel entering the room are required to wear the designated full-body reflective suits and must be cautioned not to step in front of functional spotlights. Description: SCP-17 is a humanoid figure approximately 80 centimeters in height, anatomically similar to a small child, but with no discernible identifying features. 17 seems to be composed of a shadowy smoke-like shroud. No attempt to find any object beneath the shroud has been successful, but the possibility has not been ruled out. 17's reaction to shadows cast upon it is immediate and swift. 17 leaps at the object casting the shadow and completely encloses it in its shroud, whereupon it returns to its normal size, leaving no trace of the object behind. Additional notes: personnel with beta clearance or higher should see also document number 017-1. SCP-18. Object Class Euclid. SCP-18 is to be contained in its specialty metal restraint inside of a 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter sealed box lined with heavy synthetic padding. The sealed box is then submerged in the center of the 10 meter by 10 meter by 10 meter polyethylene holding tank. If 18 is to break free from the holding box, the polyethylene-based goo will slow down kinetic activity enough for proper retrieval by containment personnel. Personnel entering 18's holding chamber are to wear specialized plating found inside of 18 observation and a breathing apparatus before being lowered into the polyethylene tank. If 18 is loose outside of the polyethylene tank, personnel are advised to secure themselves in a separate room and close doorways or hatches to isolate 18 until containment teams arrive. 18 has the appearance of a super ball made by the Whammo Company in 1969. It is 6 centimeters in diameter and colored red. Found when the company was hired to clean out a warehouse and had Whammo merchandise in it. 18 was noted to be able to bounce with extreme height, at first thought to be a pleasant child's toy. 18 was able to bounce with over 200% efficiency. That is, if dropped by 1 meter, it would bounce 2, then 4, then 8, then 16. The ball soon became a dangerous projectile reaching speed estimated at over 100 kilometers an hour and damaging property and injuring 5 in the city of It came to a rest after several days in the nearby lake of and was retrieved by SCP personnel. Due to the speed of the object and the total surprise by its victims, no cover-up story was required or initiated. Documentation number 018-04. Message to 05-. I hope everything is well. The reason I write to you is because I believe I've found a more effective method for retrieving new or escaped SCP objects. Yes, I realize we haven't had any progress in reverse engineering, whatever allows this thing to defy the laws of thermodynamics, but we have come up with a very effective method for integrating one of those new SCP-A5 armor suits with this. Just hear me out. We implement it to the bottom of a boot, rig up a little bit of mechanical device, and ta-da! The suit is now capable of jumping well over a building. Also, if the wearer has their foot against something they want dead, let's just say it delivers a hell of a kick. All I need is permission to modify one of the pre-existing SCP-A5 suits, and you'll be able to actually capture plus any other escaped SCP objects. Trust me, we never let you down in the past. Dr. Documentation number 018-06. Letter to Dr. Upon assignment, Agent was issued your modified SCP-A5 armor. In retrieving SCP,
and the results are mixed. Agent was able to place the collar onto SCP, chase it through the Amazon, and restrain it by dismemberment. However, due to a malfunction of your little mechanical device, he was launched almost a mile into the air and suffered 2 broken legs, 7 broken ribs, a missing arm, and a skull fracture upon hitting the water of Lake on the way back down. You will fix that before authorize your armor for common use.
Documentation number 018-11, message to 05. Don't worry, it's fixed. But I have some more ideas. If I can be granted the use of some of the water from SCP-006, SCP, and possibly SCP, I can deliver you a set of SCP-A5 armor and an agent that can capture any, if not all, rogue or unattained SCPs. All I'm waiting on is your approval. SCP-19, Object Class Keter. 19 is to be kept on a white grate in a 3 meter by 3 meter by 4 meter reinforced concrete room installed with an incinerator. Room is to be kept at 0 degrees Celsius when incinerator is not active. An observation chamber separated by a plate glass window is to be used for constant observation of 19. And if/when specimens of 19-2 are observed, in the event of an outbreak of 19-2, ordinary firearms are successful in terminating individual specimens, although in the case of a swarm-level outbreak, flamethrowers may be more effective. 19 should be kept in a vertical position at all times. Description: 19 appears to be a very large ceramic vase, 1.8 meters in diameter at the mouth and 2.4 meters high. Style and decoration indicate it was created in classical Greece, although conclusive dating is impossible, as the surface is entirely unbreakable by any known means. If a successful method is discovered, 19 is to be destroyed with prejudice. Periodically, entities emerge from 19. Collectively, these are known as 19-2. These entities vary in many aspects, but tend to be small, vaguely humanoid, though they may have animaloid features, and extremely hostile. They often choose to attack with teeth or claws. Although fairly delicate, also surprisingly flammable, they are reasonably strong and pose a considerable threat in large numbers. When kept at 0 degrees Celsius and totally at rest, entities will emerge from 19 at a rate of approximately 1 entity per hour. The following traits are known to affect 19-2's manifestation rate: movement of 19, threat to 19, extreme temperature highs and lows, sudden shift in surrounding environment, introduction of objects or organisms to the inside of 19 known to cause a flood reaction. Traits that may or may not influence 19-2's manifestation rate: presence of human life near 19, current weather patterns, specific individuals near 19. Some individuals seem to affect 19-2's emergence rate more drastically than others. In addition, tipping or tilting 19 will create a reaction as though it was previously filled with SCP-19-2 specimens. Although viewers looking into 19 from above will merely observe a dark hole due to the production rates of 19-2 when the object is disturbed, measurement of the internal cavity is difficult, but it is suspected to be inconsistent with outside measurements. Addendum. Document SCP-19-2A-A. 19-2 notes, as maintained by Dr. Light and Dr. Vox. 19-2 specimen was removed from containment chamber and kept in reinforced pen, provided with water and live chickens as food. Specimen made quiet, continuous, garbled vocalizations determined to be phonetically similar to ancient Hellenic languages. Although the reason for this is unknown, specimens are still thought to be no more intelligent than animals. The specimen lived for less than 48 hours, and a dissection revealed anatomy consistent on a cellular level with normal biology, but with an extremely unstable musculoskeletal structure. Other notable anomalies include an unstable respiratory system, a nearly non-existent digestive tract, and virtually no other internal organs. All other captured specimens have followed similar patterns of behavior and demise. Note: it appears that 19-2 specimens were not intended to live for meaningful amounts of time outside of 19. Dr. Vox. Containment unit was slightly damaged following prolonged exposure to 19-2 specimen, missed by the monitoring team because of partial transparency. This has not been noted in 19-2 before. Monitoring teams will continue to report further anomalies. Monitoring teams report some specimens of 19-2 now appear to be significantly more resistant to incineration than others. It is hypothesized that this is a defense mechanism on the part of 19. Most specimens of 19-2 are now all but entirely resistant to the effects of the incinerator. Replacement of incinerator with an acid bath is being considered. Evolution of 19-2 is being studied and may be evidence of a sentience in 19. Okay, yeah, no, the more we read. SCP-20. Object Class Keda. Containment Procedures. Samples of 20 are stored in a series of sealed cultivation chambers inside a sealed containment room at Biological Research Area 12, which is accessible only via airlock. Nutrients are administered via automated robotic systems, and the cultivation chamber must remain sealed at all times. Hermetically sealed video surveillance cameras are installed within the containment room and must be checked daily for integrity. Any personnel entering the containment room must wear biosafety level 5 equipment, including rebreathers, and undergo full antifungal disinfection upon exiting. Description: 20 is a fast-spreading fungal organism that is capable of affecting the senses and behavior of living creatures, including humans. The samples of 20 exhibit an unknown effect that renders them effectively invisible to direct observation, even when under a microscope. 20 is only visible to humans when viewed through photograph or video surveillance. Once 20 forms a colony, usually within a human residence, it will produce spores that affect the behavior of humans around it. Affected subjects will increase the heat and humidity within their homes to create an environment more suitable to the growth of 20. Affected subjects also become more sociable in many cases, and often invite acquaintances to their homes to further spread the organism. As the spores in mold colonies are invisible to the affected subjects, the mold may sometimes grow directly on living subjects. As the spores in colonies within a home approach critical concentration, the health of affected human subjects rapidly deteriorate, resulting in death. Further spread of the mold may occur as the bodies of any deceased subjects are encountered by emergency responders and healthcare agents, as well as transportation of the bodies to local morgues. 20 was first encountered in where an undercover SCP agent noted dramatic personality changes in personnel working at the local hospital. Upon investigation by a contaminate team, it was discovered that almost civilians had been infected, as well as the majority of the town. The civilian population was terminated, and the town incinerated under cover of a local flash forest fire. To date, over 12 outbreaks of 20 have been reported. Investigations are currently underway to determine the source of these outbreaks and possible preventative measures. Addendum 20-01 excerpts from the audio-video mission records of Mobile Task Force Eta-10 See No Evil during the initial containment of SCP-020 on T2 Lead. Team 2 moving on the Red House. T2 Com. Copy. UAV 1 is picking up 1 heat signature. Team 2 in place, ready to expletive. Door opening. At this point, a civilian woman appeared in the doorway, holding a kitchen knife. Video surveillance showed that nearly 2/3 of her face was covered by mold growths. Civilian woman. Well, hello there, gentlemen. Care to take a breather inside?
On the ground, drop the weapon.
Don't be silly. Come on in and stay a while.
Stop where you are. Drop the weapon.
We just want to have some guests. Please, come in.
Drop the weapon.
It is assumed at this point that infected civilian noticed T2-4 carrying a primed incendiary weapon and lunged forward at the team member with a knife. Civilian went in.
Open fire, open fire.
Pew, 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 pew. Ah, pew, pew, ah. Interesting. That one is definitely less tryhard than the vase.